person that lives in Chambers County, the person that's down in Conecuh in Escambia County, the family that lives up in Huntsville or over in Decatur, the costs that they are going to see rise as a result of specifically the tax cuts that are going to the billionaires and are ultimately going to be paid by your average Alabamian.
Alrighty, welcome back. Alabama Politics This Week. Josh Moon, David Person, and we are happy to have with us the Alabama Policy Director for the Southern Poverty Law Center, Mr. Jerome Dees. How are you, sir?
Doing well, fellas. How are y'all?
Oh, not too bad. Not too bad at all. Listen, I'd written a column about the topic that we discussed in the open, which was the rising medical costs and how people aren't going to be able to afford insurance and why we don't fix this ridiculous system that we have. And then I happened to be scrolling through Facebook, and who pops up on the screen talking about the exact same topic, but Jerome Dees. And listen, it was exactly what I have been saying to folks. It's, the big, beautiful bill has been only beautiful for 1% of the country. Those are the people who are writing off the full cost of their private jets right now. And all the rest of us are getting hosed. But tell me what the message was that you had on Facebook. What are y'all trying to do at SPLC in relation to these high costs and what's changing?
So the video that you saw is really just kind of part of a public education campaign. I think most people are just kind of busy focusing on going about their day-to-day lives, trying to make ends meet, and only focused on sort of that one document, that bill that comes in the mail, and they open up at the kitchen table and they see, wait, what in the world is going on? My costs are going up, and it's the same plan that I'd had for previous years. And so really just trying to take kind of a lot of the complex administrative and legal mumbo jumbo that has transpired over the past couple of months and really sort of distill it and break it down into everyday terms that people can understand, so they know what's being done to them as opposed to being done for them. Really trying to kind of cut through sort of that moniker of the big, beautiful bill and understand, as you said, that, it's beautiful, but not for everyday folks like for you or for me. It's the big, beautiful billionaires bill, really, is what
Right. Yeah, it is. Yeah, no, you're right. And, it just, I try to tell people, look, I understand that I have a more progressive bias. Okay. I get it. I do have a more progressive bias. I know it going into things. But at the same time, on an issue like this right here, we can set all that aside. Okay. Because we're just dealing with numbers at this point. All right. And the numbers are astonishing on the increase of some folks' health insurance, right?
Absolutely. So one of the things that sort of our researchers and others had looked at is just kind of a breakdown of what those cost shifting impacts are going to look like for everyday folks. The person that lives in Chambers County, the person that's down in Conecuh in Escambia County, the family that lives up in Huntsville or over in Decatur, the costs that they are going to see rise as a result of specifically the tax cuts that are going to the billionaires and are ultimately going to be paid by your average Alabamian. So one of the examples that I provide in the video is that a typical 60-year-old couple living in Alabama with a household income in sort of the 80 to 90,000 range is going to see their costs increase significantly, double and tripled what they had been previously paying for the exact same healthcare package that they have always had. And again, those costs are going to pay off tax cuts for billionaires and corporations instead of really addressing the affordability crisis that Americans across the country are facing.
Hey, Jerome, a couple of quick questions here. One, in regarding what you just said, prices escalate to the point that a lot of people just say, "To heck with it, I'm going to forego health care." Doesn't that sort of throw a wrench into the administration's plan that they can recoup cost off of the backs of those folks?
That's certainly a significant part of it. Actually kind of segues me into another facet that I want to talk about that hasn't gotten as much airplay. There's been a significant focus on the Affordable Care Act marketplace, Obamacare, ACA, whatever you want to call it. And rightly so. There's, I want to say, 25 million or so Americans that have benefited from that over the past decade. But the thing that we've got to think about for all of those like heavy capitalist minded folks and free marketplace is that the Affordable Care Act helps subsidize also lower costs for those who don't use the ACA marketplace, the people that are just going directly to insurers because it affects the pool of insured folks that they take on and it helps them keep those costs low. So when we see in the next couple of weeks, because those uh, enhanced premium tax credits that are a part of the big beautiful bill that will expire at the end of this month, at the end of the year, we are going to see a significant number of people that choose, as you just alluded to, not enrolling in any sort of healthcare marketplace at all. And so that's going to affect the other pool of folks. And so even if you just have sort of your traditional Blue Cross Blue Shield, your Cigna, your Aetna, whatever your insurer is, those costs are going to go up as well. And so even if you are not somebody that has used the marketplace in the past 10 years, it is going to affect everyone, particularly those in our rural communities in Alabama. It's going to affect the individuals as well as the actual healthcare facilities and providers there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I just want to say
Uh,
real quick, Dave, just let me
yeah.
jump in just for a second, because
Yeah.
ultimately it's also going to affect every single person in America, because it's going to drive your costs up. Okay, because these folks are still going to get sick, they're still going to go to hospitals for the most expensive care imaginable, and they're not going to be able to pay the bill. So guess who does pay it? Because the hospital is going to pass that along to somebody, and guess who's going to pay it? It's going to be us through higher costs over the course of time, and it's going to greatly explode those costs that are already rising.
Yeah. Well, and actually got a letter myself from my health insurer saying my rates were going up, not dramatically, fairly, very modestly. Actually, I was surprised, but it still was an increase. So I get what you both are saying about that. My final question to you, Jerome, is about the SPLC mission. We know SPLC is this great, amazing civil rights organization that has bankrupted the KKK and been at the forefront of documenting the atrocious history of racism and bigotry in our country and in our state. How does this and by the way, I'm glad that you're delving into looking at the healthcare inequities, but I'm wondering how do you see this as fitting into the historic mission of the SPLC?
Well, first off, thank you for the question. I want to let your listeners and viewers know I did not plant this question, but I'm excited to talk about it. So,
All
uh,
right.
over the past year or two, really wanted to lean in to the P in Southern Poverty Law Center. I think that it ties directly into a lot of the issues that we see, whether it is our historic work around decarceration and decriminalization. There are economic aspects to access to voting and a whole host of other things. But I really feel like our work around eradicating poverty, particularly in uh, oppressed and disadvantaged, historically disadvantaged communities, really uh, has always been at the heart of what SPLC stands for. And so, for the past couple of years, we have been kind of behind the scenes in a lot of respects, working on a lot of poverty related issues. To give you one example, you all may recall back when uh, Congress made some changes to the summer EBT funding program for states across the country, and particularly the Southeast. And you saw a lot of Southern governors saying, and this was at the tail end of the Biden administration, no, we're not going to re up funds for that. We're not going to do this, that, and the other. Well, SPLC, other groups like Alabama Arise, a number of food banks and food pantries did some really incredible work during the 2024 season uh, to make sure that Alabama was the one deep South state that actually continued the summer EBT program. And for those that don't know, the summer EBT program is a food security program for kids from low income households to ensure that they are guaranteed some access to the food that they need during those summer months. So many kids rely on those reduced breakfasts and reduced lunches as their only guaranteed meal of the day. And that summer EBT program ensures that that happens during the summer for them as well. So we were able to make sure that that was funded and is now in the state budget and has been for the past 2 years. Additionally, we've done some work around implementing a new universal school breakfast program, and we're actually able to get $7.3 million appropriated in this past year's state budget. So we've been doing a lot of work around appropriations and a number of other legislative measures as well that directly get to the heart of again, I use that phrase, those kitchen table issues that regardless of whether you consider yourself to be conservative or liberal or leftist or MAGA, they are things that all of us care about. Because we all care about whether or not grandma is able to afford the medication that she needs. We all care about whether kids are able to get the food that they need so that way they can focus on their education and grow and develop into the citizens and residents that we hope that they will be.
Yeah, I would, I would say, do we? Though, I mean, I think that there's a whole swath of people out there who take a kind of a different approach to this thing. I believe obviously that we do. I believe that a hungry kid, you don't question why he's hungry. You give him something to eat. And then you try to figure out what we can do to help make sure that he's not coming to school hungry, on down the line somewhere. But the most important thing is to give them the meal, and then try to figure it out, because it is our responsibility as a civilized society to do those sorts of things. We seem to have slipped into this political game where we've divided teams, and I hate your team and your team hates me, and no matter what the other side does, that's my side. I've got to be on that side. Let me ask you, it seems like at one time the work that SPLC did was particularly valued. Obviously, not by everybody. There were a lot of racists and a lot of folks out there that were doing bad that didn't appreciate it. But I think most people do. It has now been y'all have been attacked left and right, all the time by especially this administration and people that would seek to do harm. I think to the least of us. Is it harder now to eradicate poverty, to stand up for those that don't have a voice, to make sure that we are doing the things that you just talked about, that are all fantastic, great things that used to be, part of the very fabric of what people thought of as America? Is it harder now to do that?
I mean, there are certainly some new challenges as a result of the landscape that we're in now. But by that same token, I think that a lot of that landscape that we're facing has brought about a kind of new resurgence of populism uh,
Yeah.
that kind of runs again throughout that political spectrum. And so those are the things that we've really been kind of leaning into. Uh, Again, just those basic meat and potatoes issues have been able to kind of cut through a lot of sort of the political white noise and chatter, because those are things that resonate with folks. One of the things that I've done over the past couple of weeks and months during the off season is travel around the state to areas that you may not always expect to see liberal or progressive. Uh, Going down to Wilcox County and up into Etowah and Gadsden County and partnering with our organizers to do kind of town hall listening sessions to hear directly from the people exactly sort of what their primary concerns are. I think regardless of sort of what side you're on, if you stay in the political world too long, you start to
Mm-hmm.
think that you know what people's issues are better than them.
Yeah.
And so we made a point of actually going, sitting down with folks in libraries and rec centers and what have you, and hearing directly from them and people from all different walks of life. And what we have found is that the issues that we have made a conscious decision to really focus on. Uh, Things like Alabama is one of the few states that allows municipalities to actually prosecute low income folks when they're unable to pay their solid waste trash fees. And so working on legislation to create exemptions and protections for those households. There's a particular example that I share with folks in Valley, Alabama, which is kind
Mm-hmm.
of right on the Alabama-Georgia border. There's an elderly lady whose only household income was a Social Security check that she got every month. And one month she basically was at a point where she had to pick between her medication or paying the trash fee, and
Mm-hmm.
chose her medication, and as a result was arrested and prosecuted for that failure to pay. Now that's a story, and again, a true story. It's documented. It's in reporting
Mm-hmm.
from 2022, 2023. But when I go and talk to somebody in Athens or whether I'm down in Atmore, I share that story. I don't care what your background is, what church, synagogue, mosque you attend, like regardless of your background, that's something that both infuriates and shocks you that we are doing in this state. And
Yeah.
so that is something that sort of when we focus on those kinds of issues, um, of course, in addition to all of the other things that SPLC has historically done, but particularly in this moment where people are so attuned to the economic injustices that we're all facing, those are things that I can go to a Republican legislator's office, sit down, talk with them about, and find some common ground to move forward on.
Now, listen, first of all, thank you for doing that.
Yes.
Secondly, you know, you tooling around Athens and Etowah County, man, you might want to you be careful out there, okay? You watch stuff, because I mean, it's listen, there's places I won't go, but I mean, but overall. I think you're 100% right in what you said. The more we can sit down and talk to people, and I think hash out ideas and things, I think the better off we all become. There are going to be idiots all the time, and we all know this. But I think most people want to consider themselves good and decent and helpful. and good citizens, and that they don't want to be considered racist. And so I think that they have in the intention of being good, and a lot of times they just get misled. And sometimes if you can break through that noise that they've been feeding themselves, the rat poison, as Nick Saban used to call it, if they can get through the rat poison that comes to them through Fox News and Newsmax and some of the other right wing stuff, then I think that you can have an impact. So what y'all are doing, man, is particularly helpful, I think, and I hope that folks are still supporting y'all and you know, and are donating as they were you know, all along through this, because this work that has been done is very needed and very necessary, and we really do appreciate what you're doing.
And if I can jump in just to add
Sure.
one extra thing, I think one of the things that we have seen as we're talking about kind of messaging and landscape and all of that is so many times we have seen bad legislation come about as a result of sort of one personalized incident, a new crime being put on the books because of one tragic incident happening. Uh, a lot of that goes to people's ability to connect with a particular issue because there is now like a face and a story connected to a particular policy. It's really hard for folks to understand and really grasp in a practical sense sort of what type of policy somebody is talking about if I don't see it put into practice, whether it's on the local 6 o'clock news or what have you. And one of the things that we have really made a focus of and really leaned into is kind of flipping that on its head for the public benefit of, again, sharing stories like that lady in Valley, uh, sort of personalizing those particular practices that are in place across the state and pushing for policy that is going to benefit everybody. And so I think one of the things that sort of we can continue to do is lean into that strategy of really connecting issues like this. The folks who are going to see their annual premiums go from $7,000 to $33,000 a year as a result of this, having folks sort of share those particular stories, understanding that setting
Yeah.
sort of that healthcare issue aside when we talk about the food security for kids, as a result of that same bill, the one big beautiful bill, the state of Alabama is now going to be on the hook for more administrative costs that we're going to have to cover this coming session. But then in the 2027 session, we're actually going to have to partially pay for some of these benefits, which means that we could potentially be on the hook for an extra 140 to $200 million, depending on what the state's error rate is. And so, in understanding that, hey, there's that kid in 8th grade in Decatur that is going to be impacted by that. The kid who is in your Sunday school class that relies on that reduced lunch is going to be directly impacted by that. Really making it personal and driving it home for folks is, I think, in this day and age, the way that we continue to work for the betterment of the people of Alabama.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Most conservative folks do not recognize the danger until it lands on their doorstep, and they see it firsthand for themselves. And you know, it's hard for them to imagine a life unlike their own, and so providing them with those examples and doing the stuff that y'all are doing, man, is fantastic work. And Jerome, man, thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah.
All the work the SPLC has done, and thank you for coming on, spending
Mhm.
some time with us. We really do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Good to see y'all.
All right,
Alrighty.
take it easy,
Thank you,
Jerome.
Jerome. That's Jerome Dees with SPLC. We'll be back in just a minute. Alabama Politics This Week.